Shalom. First and foremost, all praises, glory, and honor is due unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rechak Wadash. All praises, glory, and honor is due to the Heavenly Father, in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world calls Jesus Christ, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well and teach well. Peace, blessings, and salutations unto the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, the fellow laborers that are scattered abroad through all the four corners of the earth. Now it's getting more and more interesting as we see this whole, conflict in the Middle East is gaining, more momentum. And, now it's finna get to a escalating point of no return. All right. Lines are being crossed. And now at this point, there's no reason to even play diplomatic when, major moves are being made. All right. Now, the media right now is concerned with this attack that just went down. When you had the Iranian forces, they shot over 180 plus ballistic missiles into Israel. And after that happened, you had the media blitz campaign being ran by the Zionist-controlled media, where it was pushing the propaganda and a narrative that, nothing significant was, destroyed, or it wasn't a significant attack. It wasn't effective. It was basically nothing. But we sure to vow retaliation, a huge response, to those strikes. But come to find out, those Iranians, when they shot those strikes, they actually, once again, because they did it back in April, they managed to strike within Israel, and it actually got it through the Iron Dome, meaning their defense, their air defense, it wasn't advanced enough to actually prevent this particular attack because it got overwhelmed. And they actually struck actual military targets, and it wasn't intended to strike civilian targets like the other side is known for doing. So to save face, they had to run the propaganda machine to downplay what just happened, right? And it's showing that they're very vulnerable without America's defense. If they didn't have any help from Babylon, they would have been food. So I'm watching this video right here, and you had this Iranian professor. He was speaking with a biased reporter, journalist, on the whole situation. And you're going to hear it, man. And it goes to show you that these devils, man, they're on a losing streak. They might think that they up, but they're really on a losing streak. And no matter what narrative that they try to reshape, the world is finding out. All right. So let me play this real quick, and then we'll get some precepts.
Right, so following last night's retaliatory strike on Israel by Iran, the long-expected response for Israeli atrocities committed in not just Iran, of course, but Gaza and Lebanon as well, where an estimated 180 rockets have been fired into Israel by Iran. And the Western media, as we have come to expect, have been full of the usual narratives, basically implying Iran bad, Israel good. Why aren't you backing Israel? We're all backing Israel. Look, Keir Starmer has suddenly appeared on TV after seemingly being hiding for days as Iran attacked Israel to hurriedly assure everyone that Iran gets condemned for striking Israel as it has, and saying the whole of the UK is with Israel at this apparent time of their greatest need. Well, newsflash for the Western media, and certainly for Keir Starmer there. You don't speak for us. You might have been bought and paid for by the Israel lobby, but don't tar us all with that same brush. It's an insult to common sense. But coming back to the media, they've misstepped. And as this footage from Sky News shows, Iranian spokespeople are having none of it. And an Iranian-American scholar very much schooled them and the West in what is an epic takedown of the nonsense we're all being fed by our own media. Well, that makes us, if we believe what such sources are telling us, which is such a far departure from the truth, is just silly, isn't it?
Well, Professor Mohammad Morandi from the University of Tehran joins us now. Thank you very much for being with us, Professor. I just wonder, first of all, what has Iran achieved by this attack on Israel? Very few of the missiles got through. It, in effect, failed. Many people are calling it a humiliation for Iran.
I think that's a lot of wishful thinking on behalf of you and your colleagues at Sky News. It was a massive blow to the Israeli regime. And the history of this conflict doesn't go back to last year. It is 76 years of ethno-supremacism, ethnic cleansing, and this is a racist regime that you support. What the problem is that you cannot recognize that the difference between you and us is that you support racism and racial hierarchy, and we reject it. And the Israeli regime, if they dare strike back at Iran, we will hit them much harder next time. We will beat them into submission.
And it sounds good, but enough of the talking, man. You know, it's about time that y'all get to moving with the action. Okay, it's time to walk the walk and less talk. But hey, because the scriptures do say how the Carmanians are gonna come raging like that wild boar. They're gonna get animated. The Lord's gonna put a spirit on them, and they're gonna get turned up. So prophecy has to fulfill itself, and we remember these Iranians they were the former Persian regime. The Persians they were a great empire. Even when we read in the scriptures how they had control over 127 provinces, so they were a strong kingdom at one point. So there's not an easy fight, and Israel's without America and help of the UK and these European countries, they're small guys. They're little guys. All right. They didn't have the firepower from the West. They wouldn't have all this bullying energy that they got. All this pride and arrogance that you see. But this is it's beautiful though. It's beautiful to see, because they're harder than their necks. And all this pride from within, and it's going to cause their downfall. I mean, as it is written in Proverbs. Matter of fact, let me get it. Their pride is going to be their own downfall, man. It's Proverbs 16 and 18, and it says, "Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall." And that's Esau all the way, especially Amalek. They got the whole world sewn up. We own everything, we control everything. We got the great whore, we got the hammer of the earth, on our side. They're basically, they're pretty much our hitmen, We got a hitchman that the world is afraid of, which the world is no longer afraid of the big bad whore. All right. And that's why they're forming alliances together, all right, to oppose that dominant threat. So it doesn't work anymore. So that's matter of fact, I'll get one more. Let's go to that in Obadiah, where it tells you the attitude of Esau. This is Obadiah verse 3. It says, "The pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?" And that's their attitude. Okay. Knowing that, they have all the world's wealth. They have all this military might. They have all this control in these different industries. So, all this power, it gets to the head. So they think that they're unstoppable and untouchable.
But they will strike back, won't they? No sovereign country can put up with having 180 ballistic missiles fired at them. So they will hit back, they will hit hard, and they could well hit your nuclear facilities, your oil production installations. They could cause Iran serious damage.
Listen, instead of the rhetoric, be real, because you're misleading your own people. Iran has countless underground missile sites with hundreds of thousands of missiles across the country. They were made after the U.S. invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan to deal with a potential war with the United States. So
Interesting, right? So we know that regime, they watched what America did to Iraq. We know they watched what they did in Afghanistan, even though they didn't really win that over there in Afghanistan. But they know just the threat of, Babylon, being used, by these warmongers that funds, these wars, and America gets used by these little tiny hat demons to go to war for them. Especially if you sitting on land that they covet, you sitting on some kind of resources, or your land happen to be the right land for a certain trade route that they would like to set for themselves. They're gonna start or cause something, all right, to justify going to war with you. So they saw what happened. All right, they watched what their Libya. All right, they saw it all, man. So I'm pretty sure throughout them years, they was manufacturing, they were developing, and that goes right into prophecy when you go to Joel, the 3rd chapter. And I'm sure they ain't the only country that been in that process. Just knowing the history of Babylon and NATO, all the different invasions and wars, the destruction of certain countries. So they had no choice but to take their currencies, their economy, and develop defense for themselves in case the whore, the bully, comes in a direction. So this is Joel 3 verse 9 that says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pointing hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong." And this Iranian professor is telling you, it might seem like we weak on the surface, but you don't know what we sitting on. You don't know what we holding. We're actually stronger than we actually appear to be. And I believe Israel knows this. They don't want a straight head-on conflict with Iran like that without knowing that America is fully assured in a total backing in a war with them. Like America would have to agree to literally be front and center with Israel for them to feel secure about going toe to toe with them. Or else they're gonna, play games and, keep it proxy. But this is an example of that. They sitting on hundreds of thousands of missiles underground that they can use, that they can, pull out if it needs be. But I wonder how long, you know, they're gonna sit on it, because over the last few years, a lot of important people on y'all side been getting taken out by them. Over in Syria and Iraq, you know, you done lost multiple generals. You know, I thought it was gonna be off. I thought it was gonna be up when they got Soleimani. Then they was doing all that shooting in the air stuff, you know, shooting near bases and not actually hitting actual targets. But now is the time to step it up, which I believe is definitely going to escalate to that point, because things are moving quickly. But anyway, let's continue to listen to a little more. Then I want to play another video. And this guy right here, all right, he be breaking it down, man. He was on another platform. You had the guy George Galloway. You know, I used to see him on RT, and he came on this platform and he was explaining the same thing. All right, how Iran, they're very equipped, but they've been going easy. They've been shooting their little stuff, their old stuff, and in response, they ain't really, you know, pulled out the real stuff yet. While the Israeli side, they've been, you know, shooting, using their defense force, you know, which costs billions of dollars, you know, for their defense. And, you know, it costs a lot. That shit is very expensive. But it's at the expense of the American tax dollar. Which is why if this continue to escalate and you got this current administration supporting Israel, the people here in the States, this is going to be another reason why they want a change of a regime. They ain't going to want Biden or Slakia, Kamala, since she's the, you know, the presidential candidate right now. They're not going to want her to get up in there, because she's going to have to get in there and prove her allegiance to them. Kiss the ring. So anyway, let me continue to play a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to get another clip, another video.
This puny regime, it is not a state, it is a colony. It is a racist, ethno-supremacist colony which the people call themselves the chosen people.
Yeah, and they're not the chosen people. You know, they lied to the whole entire world and placed themselves in that lot, because that's what a devil do. Okay, but the world is figuring them out. Okay, that what it says in Isaiah the 25th chapter about that covering cast and that veil that spread over all nations is now being destroyed, and now people are starting to see the light. Or you're not the chosen people. That was never your land, and you got help from the British monarchs. You used their military to usher you people in there. All right, and it's been a shitstorm ever since on the face of the planet. But anyway, let me see. Let's see if there's a little more.
If they strike Iran, we will hit them much harder next time. And they can pretend that they got away, but we hit them very hard last night. We hit their bases. And unlike the Israeli regime, which constantly carries out slaughter and genocide and is carrying out a Holocaust in Gaza, we struck their military targets, because unlike you, we actually care about human rights, not you.
Right.
Yeah, that's a shameful spewing. And this is how, you know, like the scriptures say, thou art despised among men. Nobody likes you because of your lies, your genocide, you know, your excuses to justify your genocide. And it's catching up with them. Jeremiah 49:14, it says, I have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. And that's where all this shameful spewing is coming from. This is why Satan Yahoo, when he got up there and tried to speak at that UN assembly, people got up and walked out. They didn't want to hear nothing, because they knew it was going to be just a bunch of BS. All right? They speak with a deceitful tongue. So I want to get this other interview, and it's the same guy. Let's go to this one.
Well, I think that a star was born over the last few years as...
Let me forward it real quick, get to the point.
Infrastructure, that the targets were entirely state and military targets. In that sense, it was performative, but a very impressive performance. That's my analysis. What's yours?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for your very kind words. And you're the master, and I learned from you, and I continue to learn from you. And I hope to be of some use to the audience and to work alongside you and a growing number of people who are active against war and genocide. Thankfully, things have changed a lot since a year or two ago. I think that we have to look at it in the broader context. In April, when the Iranian embassy was struck and the Iranians wanted to carry out a response, I'm sure you recall that Iran used a large number of drones and a few missiles. Most of the drones were all very old, dirt cheap, as they say, and the missiles were mostly old missiles. The Americans, they did the heavy lifting, and the Israelis brought most of them down to great cost.
It was like I said, it cost a lot. It was very costly to shoot those missiles, to recept those drone strikes that was coming from Iran. I'll remember, and this is why they keep sending all these aid packages to Israel, billions of dollars. All right. This current administration is busy helping everybody else and ignoring the suffering of its own citizens. That's how you know Babylon is done for. All right. And you're going to start to see more cries from the people, man, more uproar. It's going to eventually end up being civil war if things don't change. But a lot of this, a heavy portion of the South got flooded out. A lot of homes underwater, a lot of bodies. The toll is still being increased. They still don't know the total amount of bodies. They still finding them. And they're not getting no kind of real relief. Last I heard, they was getting $700 to a family. Are you kidding me? The migrants that are over here getting more than that. They're getting like $9,000 and stuff like that. Food stamps by the thousands. But the relief victims, they getting $750. It's finna, man. it's finna turn up in this society, man. But anyway, let's keep going.
I think the Americans spent $2.5 billion and the Israelis almost $1.5 billion. But the real objective, and some of the more advanced missiles got through and hit their targets, but the real objective of Iran, the number one objective, was to gather intelligence about the defense capabilities that the Americans and the Israelis and the French and the British and everyone else had mustered together. And this time around, the Iranians were much more serious. And you're absolutely correct. The Iranians did not strike civilian targets. The Iranians struck key military targets. From what I'm hearing from Tehran, there was enormous damage to the infrastructure of the targets that were struck. And the Iranians said immediately that if the Israelis choose to respond, which I think will probably happen and will probably happen soon, that the Iranians will strike again, and it will strike again much harder. And I think probably the Americans and the Israelis miscalculated. They didn't think that Iran would hit so hard, or that the Iranians had such advanced weapons and in such large numbers. And I think if the Israelis do continue this, they will be outgunned. The Iranian strikes will be massive, and they can go on for weeks and months because Iran has many underground missile tunnels and missile bases across the country, which can't be hit. And the reason is that Iran prepared them for potential war with the United States. After the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, the Iranians began to develop these capabilities.
Which was smart. They see how this beast move. They saw she moved over the past few years. And you know what? Let me strap up. Let me get myself together. All right. Because we know that they're going to eventually end up turning up over here. Like you had General Wesley Clark years ago when he mentioned how they had like a 7-country goal that they want to take down, all the regimes of these 7 different countries. And the last one being that he named was Iran. So I'm pretty sure they had to have intel on this. So they had to prepare, going back to the prophecy in Joel, the 3rd chapter. They had to prepare themselves because they know that eventually it would come to this, especially with the Israeli state, for years, especially with Satan Yahoo, he's been itching, to war with them. He wants to take them out because they're the biggest threat in that region to him. All right, but dealing with war and war strategy, you got to have the best advisors. Let me get that. Was it Proverbs? Yeah. Proverbs 20:18, it says, every purpose is established by counsel, and with good advice, make war. So I'm pretty sure they was doing their homework on how, Babylon and how NATO has been moving over these past, couple decades. So I'll do the same thing. Let's continue to develop, man. We need to be suited and booted just in case, because they moving wild, Anyway, let's continue.
So Israel is not the United States. It's completely dependent on the United States and the West to sustain itself. So I think that any further escalation by the Israelis actually hurts the Israeli regime more than anyone else and empowers the collective resistance and axis of resistance. But I'm sure that the Israelis are hoping otherwise. But usually what I've noticed, at least, is that Western powers and the Israelis, since they look down upon the rest of the world, their calculations are usually made in arrogance. And that arrogance and hubris is what brings about their defeat.
Like I mentioned, like I brought out, the scriptures say it. Pride go before destruction, and a haughty look before a fall. And it is going to be their down. They're so arrogant. They just literally struck a Russian air base in Syria. Now, with this proxy that's been that they've been fighting against Ukraine, when has any of Ukraine's allies ever struck a a Russian air base. No other country has done that. But they took it upon themselves to make a miscalculated move out of arrogance. They moving real sloppy, man. And it's beautiful because you had the U.S. Marine Scott Ritter. You always update us, update on what's going on as far as war politics or whatever. He made a statement on I think his X account where he basically said that Israel is moving with the sword and is going to perish by the sword. And that's true. Especially us being men of the Lord, knowing the scriptures and understanding prophecy, that's exactly how their world is gonna end. By thermonuclear destruction. That's the sword. Let's get not Job, Psalms. I think it was 7 and 13. Yeah, this is Psalm 7 and 13. It says, He have also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors. All right, and as them arrows is them missiles. All right. In military lingo, a stolen missile or a malfunction missile is a broken arrow. That's what they call it. All right. So the Lord is going to ordain them arrows against Babylon and also against the land of Israel to clear all that vermin out. This is what this is all going to lead to. All right, it's a snowball effect, and it's rolling pretty fast. All right, and just wait till the other prophecies get fulfilled, like the MOTB. That's when it's really going to move fast. All right, we'll be out of here before you know it, man. But continuing on, it says, Behold, he travaileth with iniquity and have conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood. They hold their whole propaganda machine is all based on falsehood because they have the control of all media. So all they're going to do is lie, control the narrative. It says, He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. Yeah, he's digging his own ditch. Because at the end of it all, you're gonna find yourself along with, your great whore, or the big bully. All right, faced with all these enemies, where they're gonna all turn against you. All right. They're going to all take their swords that they're using against each other and they're going to turn it right against you. It's going to be like that scene in Training Day. They're going to turn against you, man. Even your own allies. It says, His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come upon his own pate. So basically, you're going to get what you've been dishing out. All these drone strikes on civilians, bombing hospitals and schools and, the usual thing to commit your ethnic cleansing, your mass genocide. And the world is seeing what you're doing to them is no different than what these colonizers did to us over here in the West, going back a half of a millennium ago. Okay. That always gets brought up in comparison. Really, it is you can't compare it because what we've been dealing with was for a prolonged period of time. The past century, you two been going at it, and really it's because you don't belong over there anyway. That's why it tells you that in Joel the 3rd chapter. How let me see if I can grab that real quick. This is the reason why there's, constant conflict and war over there. Joel 3 and 2, it says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have parted among the nations and parted my land. They took the land and they divided it amongst themselves, and they've been fighting over it ever since. And the UN is played a vital role in that. And they seeing that this was never a good plan, because you seeing that nothing but blood been spilling since then. Because neither of them belong in that land. You read Ezekiel the 36th chapter, it tells you Idumea and the residue of the heathen took possession of our land. That's our shit. Salakia, I don't mean to say that, but that's our land. Okay? The true children of Israel are scattered. They're not even in the land. You got small remnants of them that are among them people over there. But the majority of us are not back in the land. We're not going to return until the Lord shows up. That's when we're going to go back to the land. So, going back, it says, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come upon his own pate. So he's going to go down with violence. Hey, Babylon's going to go down with violence. Thus shall that great city Babylon be thrown down with violence. Okay. Let me get another one. It is Psalms 9 and 15. It says, the heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made, in the net which they hid in their own foot taken. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Hagian Salah. You know, and hey, he lived by that sword. Okay, going back to the blessing where Isaac blessed Esau and said that not only would he get the dew from heaven and the fatness of the earth, but he would live by the sword. And that great sword was given to him. That's how he was able to colonize and take everything, through the force of the sword, waging war against nations. And so now nations are, you know, they didn't grew a pair, and they decided, yeah, we're gonna have to band together and we're gonna have to develop our tool, our artillery, because we're gonna have to face the bully at some point, and that's what you're seeing. And Russia's, you know, been pivotal in that. When you read Ezekiel the 38th chapter. All right. So you live by that sword, you're gonna perish with it. So let's go back to the video.
And I think we saw that in Gaza. We saw that alongside the border with Lebanon. They murdered Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. I was there. I was literally a 1,000 meters away when they struck Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah but slaughtered hundreds of people. I was there actually today as well. I went to see the neighborhood. They're still digging people out from under the rubble in that particular attack. They thought that this was a big win, but it wasn't. I think it raised the stature of Hezbollah and made Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah a bigger hero than it was perceived before. He's much more popular across the region in the world. Hezbollah is now, everyone is looking to Hezbollah. Its popularity is going to have an impact. And the soldiers and the commandos and the officers, they're extremely highly motivated. And I'm sure you've seen the news today. The Israelis tried to enter Lebanon and they were badly mauled by Hezbollah forces, and not by the Rizwan brigade. They have not been a part of the fighting yet. So I think the Israeli regime always overestimates its capabilities, underestimates its foes, and that is one reason why it's losing.
And that's that pride. All right, pride go before a destruction, and a haughty look before a fall, man. All right. And hey, I'm all for it. You know, to watch this devil just wallow in his own delusion and in pride. Hey, the scriptures say there's nothing more beautiful than to live to see the fall of your enemies. And we're witnessing that, man. The nation's finally standing up. All right. And we know it's going to escalate. It's not going to, all this, pity pat, ping pong attacking that they're doing it's going to get deadlier. All right. Sirach 20, I think it's 25. Let me go to, Sirach 25. And 7, it says, there be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. And, we're definitely in that time. All right, they get ready to fall, and they're going to fall together. And this is surely going to, especially with their latest move, you just attacked a Russian air base, and then you got to save face in front of the world. Like what happened, didn't just happen. So you definitely got to stand on the smoke of, retaliation. So they're already anticipating that you're going to retaliate, and they already told you what's going to happen if you retaliate. So this is just what's going to happen. Let's go to the prophecy. Jeremiah 49 and verse 20. And it says, therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, that he have taken against Edom and his purposes, that he have purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock, which is the small hats, shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. And that's what's going to be the end game. Okay, Babylon getting wiped out, the land of Israel getting wiped out, basically at the height of World War III. And the whole entire earth is going to shake to and fro. And at that time, it's going to be the Lord gathering his elect and also getting in on the party, on the fun too. All right, it says the earth is moved at the noise of their fall. And we're going to see that. Lord willing, we of the elect, we're going to get to see that in the chariot. Psalms 91st chapter tells you how they're going to fall. 1,000 is going to fall at thy left. 10,000 shall fall on thy right, and only with thine eye shall you see the reward of the wicked. It says, at the cry, the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. So, yeah. So it's a beautiful thing, man. Strap up, to you brothers and you few sisters out there, get ready for the ride. It's going to be real interesting in the days, weeks, months ahead. All right, stay prayed up and, keep the faith. And with that, I'm going to end right there, and I'm going to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And to the next one, Shalom.